Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox, and I want to show you something. It's finally halfway through June. I finally got warm enough that I need to put the fan on. I'm not kidding. I've had the central heating on in June. Never happens. Finally, 22 degrees. The sun is out. It's lovely. Anyway, I promised a video earlier about tactical voting, the practicalities of tactical voting in Scotland in order to do the best you can, the most damage to the SNP. And here it is. We're finally there. So we're going to go through this. This is from the Scottish Daily Express, and they've provided this handy guide. And we're going to go through this together. And if you see where you are, and you know you need to get rid of the SNP, and sometimes you may have to vote against who you want to vote for, but who you know you need to vote for. And I think in this occasion, for this one election, hold one's nose and vote the right way. We'll go through it, we'll have a look, and we'll join forces and say, get them out. Because if we can get them out of Westminster and cut that funding, the whole party could go bankrupt. It could go into administration and it could cease to be. And that, of course, would be no bad thing. Let's have a look. Pay attention at the back, because we're going on this little journey together. Here goes. So, official Scottish Daily Express tactical voting guide to beat the SNP in seats up and down the whole of Scotland. And we need to do this, folks. And you need, at this point, I'm going to ask you, please hit like on the video, because that will help this video go further. Also, if you're yet to subscribe, please subscribe. Again, that lifts it, that helps it, and it pushes the video out. This is one where I really need your help, because we need as many people as possible to see this guide, to see this, to see where they need to go in order to vote, in order to eradicate the SNP. So like and subscribe and share and tell people and push this agenda. This is the one. This is the final victory that we could have. We're 2.5 weeks away. We're probably 3 weeks away. If we do it right, we're 3 weeks away from the SNP imploding forever. So let's do this. Now, a lot has happened since Rishi Sunak stood in a Downing Street downpour to announce a surprise general election. But for pro-UK voters in Scotland, the priority remains the same. Beating the SNP and stopping IndyRef 2. And this guide tells you how you can do that. Now, IndyRef 2 is still a long way away. I don't think even Sir Keir Starmer, if he and when he becomes Prime Minister, is going to offer it. What Prime Minister is going to say, I want to be the Prime Minister that destroys the UK? None. And especially as less than half the people are voting for independence parties. And evidence is there that even independence supporters, SNP supporters, don't want full independence because they're scared of standing on their own, which of course they should be. Anyway, postal voting forms will start dropping through letterboxes this week. I've had my polling card, so I'm good. Although you have until 5 p.m. Wednesday to apply online, as the general election campaign reaches the crunch stage. Yeah, it's this week. After this week, it starts ramping to the finality of both the SNP and probably the Tory party, the way it's going. What about those people whose number one priority in this election is to send a message to the SNP? After all, the Nats say that winning the most Scottish seats on July the 4th will give them a mandate to begin talks on another independence referendum. Even though it doesn't, because A, it isn't a referendum, and B, even if they win the most seats, doesn't mean they've won the most votes. Entirely different matter. If you decide to vote tactically, it's actually relatively simple. There are 15 seats in Scotland where the Conservatives can still win. In some of them, it's a straight fight between the Tories and the SNP. In others, it's a three-way race with Labour. And there are 5 seats where the Lib Dems are the most likely challengers. In all, the other 37 constituencies in Scotland, the only party with any chance of beating the Nats is Scottish Labour. So basically, if you're not in one of these that we're going to have a look at, vote Labour. Scottish Daily Express doesn't support Labour, and we are desperately hoping that Labour doesn't get the chance to form the next UK government. However, they acknowledge that in Scotland, they'd rather have Labour than the SNP. If you think the most important issue at stake is stop the SNP plans for IndyRef 2, then voting Labour in these 37 seats will be the best way to do it. So we're going to go through these seats. I'm just glance down here. These are the, before we get to it. Yeah. So, unless you're one of these, we're going to go through these. If your constituency does not appear in this list, whatever your alignment politically, you must vote Labour. If you're a Tory or a Lib Dem and you want the SNP out, vote Labour if you're not on this list. If you're a Labour supporter or an SNP supporter or a Lib Dem supporter, these are the ones where, again, hold your nose just once, vote Tory. Let's get the SNP out. Getting the SNP out does more good for Scotland than regardless of who gets in. Because you are excising a cancerous growth at the heart of political life in Scotland. And it needs to go. It's already metastasised into running the police, the civil service, the judiciary. Let's take the main tumour out and we can deal with those growths later. Anyway, these are seats where the Tories can win, and we have to make sure that they bloody well do. Not that you want the Tories in or out or anything. Although I just see the very first one, Aberdeen. Absolutely, you want the Tories in. They're the only ones supporting pro gas and oil, which for Aberdeen and Aberdeenshire, quite important, methinks. Anyway, we'll go through. Aberdeen South. The SNP's Westminster leader, Stephen Flynn, is the incumbent. So we definitely need to get him out. It's no wonder he has been so desperate to muddy the water on the party's stance on North Sea oil and gas. Let's look at this. The party's stance on North Sea oil and gas is, we don't like it, we don't want it, we want it to end. Seriously, no matter what Flynn says, that's the party's policy. You cannot vote Flynn if you live, work, have any hopes, dreams or aspirations, have any children, grandchildren, anything in Aberdeen or Aberdeenshire. You can't vote SNP and you can't vote Labour. You've got to vote Tory. John Swinney confirmed the SNP is opposed to new drilling, as is the Labour Party. So really, for anyone who values the oil and gas industry, there's only one choice. Vote Tory candidate John Wheeler. Right, Aberdeenshire North and Moray East. One of the many new seats. This is Douglas Ross's, isn't it? One of the new seats, largely made up from the old Banff and Buchan constituency, an SNP stronghold for years. David Dogood had been an excellent local MP for the Tories since 2017, but his illness and the shoddy way he was replaced by Douglas Ross was a disaster for the Tories. To be honest, Douglas Ross did not ask for that seat. Being fair to Douglas Ross, it has been shoddy, it has been inelegantly handled, but David Dogood is ill. He's been very seriously ill. I'm sure he wants to be the MP. It's a difficult thing. Douglas Ross was imposed, but he did not ask for it, to be fair to Douglas Ross. But again, he's the only choice. If you're in Aberdeenshire, you need the oil and gas. You've got to vote for Douglas Ross. Right, Angus and Perthshire Glens. It's another new seat, although the boundaries are similar to North Tayside, which was one of the safest Tory berths in Scotland from 1983 to 1997. Labour is never going to win here. Dave Dugan is defending for the SNP. Defending is a very harsh word. I always get that wrong. I had to check that because you got Dave Dogood and Dave Dugan, and they don't confuse me. Anyway, but he's got his work cut out against Stephen Kerr. Now Stephen Kerr will go for that. You've got to vote Stephen Kerr. If anyway, he's a better MP or MP regardless. But he's been one of the most effective MSPs at the Scottish Parliament, taking the fight to the SNP with aggression and intelligence. So again, if you're in Angus and Perthshire Glens, vote Tory. Ah, dear. Well, here we go. The very best seat of them all. Arbroath and Broughty Ferry, because of course it's Humsa's home. All change in this area too, as Arbroath is merged into the eastern suburbs of Dundee. I remember stopping in Arbroath just for breakfast and filling my face on fresh out of the smokery kippers. I was in little fishy heaven. It was lovely. Anyway, the SNP Stuart Hosey was MP for Dundee East for nearly 20 years, but the boundary review brings the Tories into play. So it's going to be a difficult win for the Tories in that seat. So that absolutely has to be tactical voting, but you must do it again. Arbroath and Broughty Ferry in there, vote Tory. Argyll, Bute and South Lochaber. I keep doing that. It's Lochaber, isn't it? Anyway, they've been added to Argyll and Bute to create this vast new constituency in the West Highlands. It's stretching all the way from Helensburgh, Rothesay and Campbelltown to Fort William. That is huge, especially Campbelltown. I mean, you're at the right of the bell end of Scotland's dick, aren't you? That is a massive seat. Anyway, the SNP candidate is Brendan O'Hara. Oh, he's the bruiser, isn't he? He's the brute in the suit. He's the party's chief whip and is seen as Flynn's enforcer. Amanda Hampsey, the Conservative challenger, you've got to vote for her. So again, Argyll and Bute, get up there, vote Tory. Ayr, Carrick and Cumnock are varied seats, including the seaside town of Ayr, farming country to the south, around Maybole and Girvan, and the old mining heartlands around Cumnock to the east, and of course Electric Bray, which I take people to. They're always amazed by it. I've got to the point where I'm like, yeah, I know, I've seen it and that. Other people, what? That don't work out. You know, and they don't get it. It's great. If you've never been to the Electric Bray, go to the Electric Bray, bring a ball or something. It's fun. When you're driving there, slow down. There's loads. It's always people in the road, cars in the road. People stop. Just be careful. Anyway, so Ayr, Carrick and Cumnock away. Tory. Berwickshire, Roxburgh and Selkirk. John Lamont's stronghold in the Borders is perhaps the safest Conservative constituency in Scotland, but you still need to vote for him just to make sure. He's defending a majority of just over 5,000, but a vote for Labour reform could potentially let in the SNP, which would be disastrous. Again, in that one, you've got to vote Tory to keep them in. I know that there are reforms standing in Scotland, and I would say in England, vote reform all you like. In Scotland, I'm afraid it's got to be the Tories. Reform just don't have the base, and you've got to beat the SNP. Dumfries and Galloway, another one. That's down the south there. So another stellar Conservative Scottish Secretary, Alistair Jack, is stepping down after doing some very good work, it must be said, especially the challenge over the gender bill. And again, it's got to be a vote for the Tories to make sure the SNP don't get in. Dumfriesshire, Clydesdale and Tweedale. The third brick in the blue wall. Again, southernish seat along the English border. This seat has been held by popular Tory David Mundell since 2005. Always had a good run at it. So again, keep him in. Stop the SNP. East Renfrewshire. Now, the whole of Renfrewshire, it's problematic, isn't it? They've had so many issues. Them and Lanarkshire. Jesus, them and Lanarkshire. It's just all falling apart. Anyway, East Renfrewshire, tricky one. Labour's candidate Blair McDougall, deserving credit as one of the architects of the Better Together campaign. But Labour's roots in Glasgow's leafy suburbs do not run deep. Yeah, I mean, this is one of those 50-50. Just see who's in second and go. They recommended vote Tory, I suppose so. Murray West, Nairn and Strathspey. Getting back up to whisky territory. Back up north for another new seat where all the candidates are new faces and new boundaries stretching from Lossiemouth all the way down the A9 to Dalwhinnie, where I may say there is an excellent single malt. They make it a difficult one to predict. Yeah, because it's everyone's new seat, new people. Yeah, go on. But again, vote Tory, got to. Nothing else there. Plus, if you're on the A9, that's every reason not to vote SNP, isn't it? Gordon and Buchan. Again, Tory. Got to vote Tory. Perth and Kinrossshire. Yeah, again, that's going to be a good seat because we all know who we need to get out. One of the most intriguing battles in Scotland, with veteran SNP candidate Pete Wishart only clinging on to the old Perth and Northshire seat by 21 votes. OMG. The addition of Kinross will make things even more interesting, with Tory candidate Luke Graham, who was the former MP for Uckle in South Perthshire. No brainer, vote Tory. Stirling and Strathallan. I know. An outside bet, but perhaps the SNP candidate Alan Smith is definitely not on everyone's cup of tea. And the only realistic challenger is the Conservative Neil Benny. It's tight. It is absolutely tight, isn't it? West Aberdeenshire and Kincardine. I went over the Kincardine Bridge a couple of years ago. Middle of the night. No one else. I had the whole bridge to myself Floored it. Absolutely brilliant. Literally, I was the only car. Both carriages. Probably about 3 o'clock in the morning. Never seen it before. Anyway, Labour, Lib Dem and Reform votes in this area will achieve nothing. It is a 50-50 split with Tory and SNP, so you've got to. Anyway, Lib Dem seats. Nothing really surprising, I think. Caithness, Sutherland and Easter Ross, vote for Jamie Stone. He's Lib Dem, vote for him. Edinburgh West, Christine Jardine. Keep him out. Mid Dunbartonshire, top Lib Dem target, vote for Susan Murray. And if you're North East Fife, vote for Wendy Chamberlain. Now, and they're all Lib Dems. If you're not on those lists, vote Labour. Get them out, get them beat, get them bankrupted, get them gone. I'll come up. So, them's the rules. If you're on those lists, you know whether to vote Tory or Lib Dem. And if you're not on those lists, vote Labour. Get them out and get them destroyed. We can do it. It's one election. You may have to vote for a party you don't necessarily agree with or like. That's fine. One single election. It makes all the difference. It won't make a difference to the UK government. That's going to be Labour anyway. But you can make a difference in Scotland. And a difference that will last and resonate for years to come. That's why it's so important. So I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, please vote the correct way. Eradicate the SNP. Get them gone. And make sure you do. Don't sit there on the day and go, well, you know, blah, 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 and prevaricate. Get out. Vote early. Make sure your voice counts. This is the one chance, probably the best chance ever, of utterly destroying, once and for all, the SNP. Thank you very much. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring that bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video, and I will speak to you later. Bye.